My name is Spinelli, my pronouns are he, they, and I am the Tucson Business Engagement Manager with Local First Arizona. Nope, I'm just pushing right ahead. Hey, what is the Hustle Hour? Just a quick show of hands. Who's here for the very first time for this event? Oh, wow. You know, that's really unusual because normally it's mostly repeats from previous months. So thank you for taking the plunge with us tonight. What is the Hustle Hour? This is a local first event in collaboration with the University of Arizona at Forge, featuring a rotating panel of Tucson-based business owners, community leaders, and activists with the goal of providing access to underrepresented perspectives and approaches in local business. A little bit about Local First Arizona, if you have not heard of us. We were founded in 2003, and we are a nonprofit organization committed to community and economic development throughout Arizona. Our work connects people, locally owned businesses, and communities for meaningful actions that build a diverse, inclusive, and prosperous Arizona economy. Now, you may be wondering, I am not Dr. Yael, Dubin, our moderator. I am Nick. Yael unfortunately could not be with us today. However, she not only sends her sincerest regrets for not being able to be here, her fingerprints are all over this panel, this topic. She brought these people together. She drafted many of the questions that I am about to ask them. To kick us off, introductions. I'm going to pass the mic to you, and in order, go ahead and share your name, any affiliations you would like to give to the crowd, and then please answer me this one simple question. Why do you network? Chrisie, you're first.
First. I am Chrisie Ballard. I am the B&I SoZona CEO and franchise owner, so hello to my B&I peeps. Why do I network? Well, it's my business. And one thing that I realized is when I was in school, I went to 9 different schools from kindergarten to 12th grade, all in Tucson. No, my dad was not in the military. And so I learned very quickly that I had to make new friends wherever I went. So for me, networking, I didn't realize I was going to end up owning a networking organization, but it worked out very, very well that way.
Hi everybody, I'm Jason Barrett. I'm in our Thunder Sky video. I'm a video producer here in town. I'm affiliated also with B&I. I happen to be the current president of my chapter, which is exciting. So I'm part of B&I, I'm part of the B&I leadership. And why do I network? I was terrible at thinking about networking, much less actually doing it in my previous life when I was living in Southern California, which is where I grew up and spent most of my life. I came to Tucson about 4 years ago and knew my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. I knew like 2 other people, but really nobody. So networking for me was a way of building community first, and then translated that into community through business second. So it really was vital for me to learn how to network in order to build friendships here.
Hello there. I am Stephanie Rising. I own The Rising Effect. I am a small business coach. I am also affiliated with B&I. It's just the B&I hour. I'm also affiliated with the Game Bird, and I had to learn how to network. The job that I had before I started my own company, I did not need to network. So even though I lived here since I was 6 years old, I did not know how to bring my connections and my resources together in a business capacity. And that's a completely different ballgame than inviting people to your birthday party. So I've learned a lot over the years about networking, things to do, things not to do. I still do things on the not to do list. So the thing I would encourage everyone to embrace this evening is this is going to be a process, and it's all about progress, not perfection.
So I have a question, Nick. Is Yael Indiana? Because this is a setup. I'm the only person on the panel not Indiana.
I say you're made out to Bedford, Indiana.
I gotta go. I'll stay. My name is Vidal. I am the managing manager at Virtual Park. I also 2 hours of personal development videos. In my late teens, I started going to multi-level marketing pitches every single weekend for fun. So I love business, I love sales, I love marketing, and that really kind of got me interested and allowed me to kind of pursue my passions. The problem was, after the whole MLM kind of environment, I didn't have any place anywhere to share that, what I had learned, what I was going through. And so that's where, I found LinkedIn, that's where I really found a lot of networking organizations, and yeah, I just love it. It's right who I am. It's just fun.
I'm already breaking the rules. I have a question that I'm going to ask all of you just to get us started. The title of this event is Weaving Community. And a lot of people think that business networking is transactional rather than a way of creating community. What is your response to that?
Well, one of the things that I like to say when people ask me what I do is I build communities within the community. Networking has been looked at as a place to go sell something. The challenge is how many of you go to a networking event to buy anything? No. So there's a little bit of a disconnect, right? It actually isn't transactional. You have to take the time to create relationships. Otherwise, the networking doesn't matter.
Yeah, not a terribly different perspective, but I think when I compare to some networking organizations and events that I've been a part of to others, the ones that stand out is the ones where I have an opportunity to speak with somebody a second time. If I'm at an event where I can sense that the transactional nature of the meeting is one and done, I'm definitely not as interested, and I feel like the other people that are across the conversation from me aren't any more interested either. So those feel transactional, and I prefer to think of networking as community for sure.
And I think in addition to all of that, in terms of weaving community, I think we can all, if we learn how to listen, we all find ourselves in the middle of opportunities to connect people all the time. And maybe it's just the nature of what I do for a living, but networking for me and creating community means I can help people solve problems. So I was just at my niece's honors ceremony last night, and I saw my sister-in-law's father was there, and he mentioned he needs a new roof. And I'm like, oh, I have someone who'll take good care of you. I'm not going to have to worry about whether this person does it in the office for you. I can vouch for him. So he went from being really stressed out and not knowing where to start to suddenly having a potential solution to his problem. And so I think weaving community is relationship oriented, and it's also helping other people figure out how to gain ease or reduce their stress or whatever their challenge might be.
I think most people think it's transactional, and I have to agree with them. Because I think myself, everyone on the panel, most people in the audience, I think we understand that it's not transactional. It's a lot of it is community-based, but that's only our perception. And so I think there is still a very negative connotation to networking because 99.9% of people that I currently networking with, first of all, don't network, and they expect to show up at an event and be pitch slapped and to purchase something from someone. And so part of my mission with what I'm doing with Tucson Pride is not even talking about work, not even talking about sales or services. It's really getting to know the person. And if you look at how we are in this room, and I'm sorry if this sounds negative, but networking is like non-existent in Tucson. If I think about all the events I've been to, all the people that I've met, it's a few hundred people. Maybe, let's just be generous and say 10,000 people. Out of 1.4 million people living in Tucson, that's nothing. And so I hope that my mission of why I'm so involved in the community is to get people to realize that it's not just about the transaction.
Cool, thank you, all of you. Now, one other note about the way these questions are going to work. Being the former educator, I could not resist the temptation of scaffolding the questions that I'm about to ask you from more straightforward to more complex. So we're going to start by talking a little bit about what networking looks like for y'all, and then move more into your experience and some of the takeaways that you've had over the years. Chrisie, we will start with you. How do you choose a networking event, whether it's in person or virtual? What do you look for?
You know, it's about the people that are going to be there for me. The funny thing is people think, oh, you want to networking, or I don't even like it. The fact that it's Business Network International, yes, it's a networking organization. However, I really think we're more of an educational community building. People think you must be a mass networker. I'm really not. My husband is so much better at networking. I can speak to anybody at any event without any problem, and I've learned over the years to actively listen. And yet, when I'm at networking events, I still gravitate towards the people that I know. So if that gives you any relief that the chick that owns the organization that actually teaches still is that person that still gravitates towards the people, you know, that I know more. I like networking that has some content. If there's some education involved, something like that, that's what I would look for. I don't just want to go to an event. I have a family, I have a 2-year-old grandson, and frankly, I don't just want to network to network. So when there's content involved, I was really excited to be asked here because I knew I was going to meet different people. But it's really about the content for me.
Yeah, good stuff. I think I'm just going to continue echoing throughout the night.
That's all right, I won't go first every time.
Well, I mean, I like going to events. I like going to things where there's a lot of buzz, a lot of energy, a lot of people mingling, but I don't, I guess I don't expect to find as much takeaway from that. I don't expect to find as much community. I expect that to be more fly-by-night, more high level. So I prefer smaller connections with, 2 or 3 people at a time. Maybe 20, 30 at a time, like the group we have here tonight. Because I think the conversations are bound to be richer. We're going to feel less hurried, to get from one person to the next. Some people really want to dive in and have a good conversation. Some people are truly trying to get as much ground covered as they can. And that's fine, but just not for me.
I agree also that content and education plays a really large role in attracting me to an event. I think one thing that I've learned the very hard way over the years, like I'm 18 years in the networking now, and I had to reach a point where I was honest with myself about what I wanted to show up for. I think that there's a feeling of obligation to go to everything and anything, but that might not be your nature. I would say I'm about 70% extrovert without having for the 30% introvert streak. And I don't really like huge events. I don't really care to walk into a room with 300 people and maybe I know 10. That doesn't turn me on. And I also have learned not to go to events that have a reputation for being a business card swap, also not interested. So I think part of networking is also being very honest with yourself about what you will truly show up for. Not just check a box and say, I went to this event. You are there, you're present, you're bringing your whole self, your energy, your participation to it because you genuinely want to be there. So as much as you can align how you show up with who you are, I think the more successful you will be your networking.
So I believe the question was, how do you choose which networking events you go to? For me, it's simple. So my wife only allows me to go to 2 networking events a week. I have an allowance, and one of them is an event that I host myself. I would be at an event every single night if I could. As much as I love my family, my 4-year-old daughter, I some people drive up to Phoenix to tailgate at a Phoenix Suns game. Some people are inside, like buying drinks and eating. Some people are sitting watching the game. Like I feel like I am the game. Like you should feel my pulse right now. I just get energized by being at events. Like it's just part of it's part of me. It's who I am. And so for me, it's easy. Like I'll just go. Like I don't care what it is. If I'm talking like another person, like that's great. I don't know. I guess I have pretty low standards. But the one thing I do love is like tonight I've spoken with, I've met some of you virtually, and it's great to be able to meet people and interact in person. That's only here.
All right, this next question is going to be for Jason, although you are all, of course, welcome to chime in if you have any additional thoughts. Jason, this is a two-part question. How do you read the room at a networking event once you're there, and what are your goals when you go?
I suppose the first thing that comes to my mind is there's an energy field that exists in a room. I'm probably not always going to be interested in the same type of energy. My energy kind of level goes up and down. Sometimes I'm as excited to be somewhere as Frank is. Sometimes my introvert is pumping. And so I might customize that. But I think I can look through the energy that's present. I can look through the people that look eager to meet and talk, and those that look a little bit more. Kind of think of it as I'm thinking through this. If I'm feeling a little bit introverted myself, I might find the other introverts in that setting and interact with them first, right? And open that door. Because I do feel like a big part of why I network is to go out and listen to what other people have to say and figure out if there's value I can add to their experience. So that might be the person that I gravitate to first. My goal, thank you. I think my goal, it has to be twofold. I do expect some level of benefit to the connections that I've made. Hopefully somebody that I'll meet will be interested in me. But in my heart, I really do want to meet people because I want to find out how I can help them. So my goal is to try to find those connections where I'll be able to follow up and see if I can add value to somebody else.
Thank you very much. Stephanie, this next one is for you. How do you make a good first impression? And how is this different from what we might understand as professionalism?
I know you and I talked about this. I'm interested in you running after me, because I didn't write a little special. I think in terms of making a good impression when you are networking, there's a few things. One, I think it's important to have relaxed and open body language. I don't know about you, but I have a habit of standing with my arms crossed mostly just because I find that very relaxing. Sometimes my hands are cold. But this is not necessarily like, come and meet me. I'm defensive. So having a relaxed energy, open and warm energy, I think there's how you're feeling really comes out in how you behave. So kind of checking yourself at the door, if you're nervous about being there or you're tired at the end of the day, just really checking with yourself and say, I'm embracing this opportunity and I expect to meet someone really cool this evening. And just get that positive energy going. I think also making a good first impression means that you are genuinely interested in the other person. Be prepared to talk about yourself, be prepared to answer any questions, but make sure that you're engaging with others, asking about them, what do they do, who are they looking for, what kind of resources do they need for their business, and see where the conversation takes you. Some people just want to be more casual. They're not there necessarily to talk shop. Maybe they genuinely just want to get to know you as a person. I think you know what I'm saying on this one. As a business coach, I just get naturally sleepy about people's businesses. I can't help it. It's my hardwired. I do it all day. And so I just start, mewling around and what do you do and what challenges do you face, and I can't help it. Also, if you are introverted, can you get nervous about meeting new people? Getting other people to talk about themselves is a great way to get yourself to relax and kind of get into the mood of networking. So in terms of making a good first impression, your energy, your body language, and the things that you choose to talk about, and your willingness to engage with others, I think those all make a very positive first impression. Things that might run counter to someone's idea of professionalism, I don't know the answer to that one, based on what we chatted about, because you had an interesting take on it.
I'll kind of throw myself under the bus because I actually feel like a lot of times I don't make a good first impression. I think what's more important for me is what's the lasting impression. And I think for me, like, it's discipline for always showing up continually. And I think for me, that speaks more than the first impression. But to the second point about professionalism, I struggle with this one because, how can I say this? We all poop. Right? And raise your hand if you curse. And so, for me, there's no difference between my personal life and my profession. Personally, I don't curse. And I'm okay with other people cursing. I don't care, that's just not something I do. But I feel like the benefit for me in that situation is I feel like I'm always 100% myself. And so if people poop, if people curse, if people do all these other things in their private life, I don't know, I just don't see why that can't happen in a professional setting. And I think the reason why I really deep down feel like that is because, and you all know this, we want to do business with people that we like and we know and we trust. And for me, I want to get to that point as quick as possible. Why? Because then we can do business together. And so I think a lot of people kind of like, and there's nothing wrong with this. I don't want anyone to feel like I'm attacking them, but I don't know. I just have I don't know, maybe it's like aggressive or, I don't know, it's just different.
Do we have time for like slightly more conversation on this? For me, and Frank is an amazing networker, and if you don't follow him on LinkedIn, it's a masterclass. So I appreciate very much Frank's point of view. For me, I think authenticity is a sliding scale. I do curse. The gambit. But am I going to do
Let's
it?
hear it.
I rival any truck driver. But am I going, first meeting, but am I going to do it in this setting, meeting you all for the first time? Probably not. So for me, authenticity is a sliding scale. It's a choice. You don't have to reveal all of yourself in order to represent yourself authentically.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay. Points of clarification.
Chrisie, there's a lot out there these days about the importance of your personal story or personal brand in marketing. What's the role of your personal story or personal brand in the networking that you do?
So in 2013, I took a class that basically talked about getting your best referral and why. Yes, it was at a conference that happened to be a BNI conference. The whole entire point was getting to your emotionally charged connection. So why do you do what you do? And it was intense, all right? Because an emotionally charged connection, what does it do? It creates emotion. And I can't answer the question without telling the story very quickly. So I am 8 years old, and I am at a family function where my mom and my dad are playing cards with the adults, and I am sequestered with the children, which I would rather be with the adults as an only child. And I hated going to this house because I was always the one that had to clean up because I didn't want to get in trouble. So I would come out and I tap my mom on the shoulder and I said, "Mom, I have a question." And I was like, no, I'm asking my mom a question. And we went back and forth, and she finally looked at me and she said, you are fresh, disrespectful, and you will never amount to anything. So for those of us that are parents, I mean, somebody says that to my kid, my daughter's 24 today, you're probably not going to be standing upright very long. But this was 1977, all right, and times were different. And so I shared the story, and the woman in the class says, so why do you do what you do? And I'm like, well, I want people to have a voice. I want small business owners to feel like there's space and they have a voice. And she's like, okay, well, I have a question. What did your mother do? And I was like, I don't remember my mom doing anything. And she's like, okay, so tell me again why you do what you do. And it struck me that my whole entire life, I was continually searching for people to have my back. My dad is an alcoholic, my mom was the wife of an alcoholic, and I was an only child. And so all my years, I was searching for those people, and I found this amazing organization as a member in 2004, where we built this community where people have their back, not just in business, but when life goes sideways, people have their back. And she's like, so that's why you do what you do. I'm like, yeah, because yes, I own this thing. Hopefully I do a good enough job where at least the majority of the members know that I care about them. And if I needed something, they'll have my back. So I think your why of what you do is really important. And I think it's the thing we leave out when we're networking. We only talk about what we do and nobody cares what you do. They want to know why you are a photographer. They want to know what lights you up. They want to know what lights you up, right? And that's what they want to know. They don't want to know how you take a picture or how you teach somebody to market. That's not what they want. And the people that want that are transactional, and that's okay, to your point, right? It's okay. I just want to have conversations that are deeper, and I want to find out, because if I know your why and I know why you want to do what you do, I'm going to have a much easier way to find somebody in that room that needs you. And that's the whole entire point of being in a networking. It's not to pass out business cards that people are going to throw away when they walk out.
Well said. Jason, this next question is for you. It addresses challenges in networking, and I also want to acknowledge the challenge that some of you might be experiencing right now with the sun in your eyes. So if you need to move, I completely understand. But Jason, your question is, what challenges have you faced in networking when building relationships, and how have you dealt with them?
I think what leaps to mind is interpersonal issues that can come up through networking. And they can kind of happen when you least expect them. So I recently had an experience within my network where we had a challenge where somebody just didn't see eye to eye with the whole of the group, and it led to a lot of sort of dissension in the grouping. It was challenging because I had to try to figure out sort of like where I stood in all of that, and where the people around me stood in all of that. And so it's not probably something that I would even really be able to properly walk people through how to deal with that kind of challenge. For me, it has to do with remaining very calm through situations. I'm a very, very calm person and very low key, and I don't let too many things rile me up. And so part of it is dealing with it head on, but also a lot of it is learning how to move past things without taking the better part of your day and remaining focused on the things that are important. So there are definitely people will be out there peopling, right? People will be peopling, and we are not always the same person, from one to the next. So I think that is a challenge. It's just knowing that you are going to be dealing with meeting lots of people that are not like you. And the best I think you can do is just to try to really listen to where they're at and try to see eye to eye, and just know that it's not always going to wind up that way. It's not always going to land softly.
Well, I think there's a big difference between reacting and responding. Somebody like Jason does a great job of taking a deep breath and then responding. So like me, that needs more time, might not take the deep breath and might react. So I think even in a networking setting, people are going to people, and I think you take a deep breath and respond, don't react.
Don't let the sport code fool you, but I was once a backcountry medic, and when I first trained to respond to injuries in the wilderness, I remember my instructor telling us all that sometimes you just need to crack a can of calm before you respond. And sometimes that can of calm might be a whole six-pack of calm. Sometimes it might be a whole keg of calm, which it was for him when he was working on the ambulance in rural Tennessee. That one's always stuck with me. Stephanie, this next one's for you. And Jason, you actually set up a really nice segue here. Stephanie, your question is, we all know that when you get enough people in the room, the differences of opinion and style are likely to come up. How do you address and navigate personality divides and different personality styles?
I love this question. I use the behavioral analysis in my coaching practice, and I love the DISC. So here's the super short version of this. I think the best thing that you can do in a networking situation is kick it with neutral until you have a sense of how this person is showing up. And there's going to be cues, right? If you're very demonstrative and they talk with their hands and they're making direct eye contact on a regular basis and they are there, you can up your energy a little bit. Don't be afraid to get a little spicy, tell jokes, and be more informal because they can take it. They're probably welcoming that. If someone is quieter, they're really reaching for each word, they're very thoughtful, they're very conscientious, they're quieter, don't blow their hair out with your energy. Make sure you try and keep that neutral energy. I think one of the best things that you can do is meet people where they're at. You don't have to become disingenuous about it. You don't have to come out of your own authenticity in order to match someone else. But step it up or dial it back depending upon what kind of energy is coming at you. Because an extroverted person with a lot of energy, if met with someone who's kind of person meeting them like this, is going to assume that you are disinterested, and they're going to tune you out, and there will be no connection. So again, if you're introverted, I don't want you to become like just an water instant extrovert. But try and summon a little more energy, a little more pep in your conversation if you with an extrovert. For extroverts, if you are meeting with an introvert, please, the love of God, just don't burn them to the ground with your energy. You're going to come at them hot, and you're going to alienate them. So just that position of initial neutrality and kind of suss out who you're dealing with in the moment. And in terms of behavioral analysis, I really encourage everyone to check out the DISC, and if you want, actually, I can send Nick a free video that I've done on the 4 primary behavioral types and what motivates each of these behaviors and how they tend to interact socially, what their skills are and whatnot, and questions that you can casually ask that will give you an idea of who it is that we're dealing with, and I would be happy to make that link available for everyone who came here this evening.
And just in case anyone was wondering, DISC is a very real thing. It's actually been part of Local First's hiring process for some time now. I took a DISC assessment when I was hired. I'd be happy to share those results with you later if you'd like. Frank, we got time for one more question, so I'm going to let you close us out before we turn it over to the audience. I was really struck by what you opened with earlier when you were talking about the number of people you estimate in Tucson are networking, right? I think you said 10,000? Yep. Well, even if you did pull it out of his butt, it's what we're rolling with now. You see, this is how knowledge is created. I used to work in Barrett, I know these things. 10,000 people out of a metro area of 1.2 million. And I think somewhere in your answer, you had stated a desire to see the networking community here grow. How can we, as business owners, make networking more authentic, accessible, and inclusive? Not just for people who are introverts, but for people that hold marginalized identities, people who are neurodivergent, people who walk into a room like this and go, oh my God, what am I doing here? How can we start to change that and that perception that you talked about earlier?
That is a loaded question. Do you have an hour? I will try to simplify my answer. I think there are honestly lots of steps that somebody running an organization can take to be more inclusive, open, things like that. I think the problem though is, I feel like a lot of people don't know where to find a purpose. And I think the problem with Tucson in the nonprofit space as well is that everybody thinks they can run the show. And if there's so many nonprofits that are doing the same work, the same mission, and all of the resources are spread thin to each one because they're not just unified into one or a handful. And so I think the issue is not necessarily are there organizations that are inclusive and accessible. I think they are out there. I think a lot of the times they are just smaller. And so I don't know if people know how to find them or even like know where you can begin to find them. One of the core principles of when you start your Tucson Pride is that it will always be free. Because if there's something wrong with this, there's lots of organizations that have a membership fee. Whether it's monthly or yearly, there's nothing wrong with that. But our goal was to reduce every single barrier to entry to network. And so the second principle that we have is it's always virtual. Because we never want anybody to have to drive across town, purchase gas, get a babysitter, buy a drink, buy food at an event. So it's always 100% free and it's always 100% virtual. That way, anybody has access to the network.
Okay, and with that, I think we're going to open it up for audience questions. We're going to go till right around 6, maybe a little over if the conversation is feeling.
So yes, they are dynamic events, right? And it's all about connecting. I think absolutely people are making money by being there, otherwise they would not continue to go. I mean, unless you just want to go out, but I don't think that that's why people are going. I think it's far more successful now because it's had traction. So the people that started with her, I would say probably those people that started with her probably have a lot more success than someone just walking into a room of 200 people. I think it still took the time to make that happen, which didn't start off with 250. I remember when she started, and she and I had a great conversation about it. So I still think no matter what it is, even if it's at a large event like that, I'm hard pressed to believe that someone that is going to show up their first time is going to create a transaction the first time. I still believe that you got to go consistently. You need to go to the lunches, you need to go to the things, you need to go support the members.
Yeah, I think whatever it is, whether it's it's one of those events or something else that's maybe smaller scale, I think it's the stick to it that helps it work. I've been to a few of those myself, and I've made some connections, but it does feel like the people that are consistently there, like Chrissie's saying, and consistently making that their room. You know, I think we kind of pick our rooms where we find our people. That's where I think I invest more time into places where I see the same people showing up to take those initial transactions to build more relationships from them. So I think that could be the right place for the right person that's willing to invest the time in that for.
How do you define success and networking? Is there anyone in particular you'd like to hear from, or the whole panel? Okay, the whole panel, starting with Frank.
I want to take just a quick second to answer this question that Jay asked, because I think it's a really interesting question, and I don't know if I really want to answer it in a public setting, but I'm going to take a stab at it. I wish Stacy and her organization nothing but the best. I think what she has built and grown is amazing. I don't want to take anything away from that. I think there's obviously value for individuals and your organizations to be members, to sponsor events, to sponsor the magazine. I think it's wonderful. I think what I have an issue with, and it's not a Stacy and it's not a Tucson Business Networking director answer, but it's the idea of competition between organizations. I don't like that. I think that there is a lot of ego with a lot of different leaders of different organization groups, and I'm not saying it's Stacy or TBN, I'm just saying in general for the industry. And I feel like a question like that is hard to answer because we don't want to let anybody down in our organization, but that is the part that bugs me about networking. It's the ego. I just struggle with that personally.
You can't feel it unless you have ego with Rob and Chrisie.
Yes, but I think there's a way you can go about it. So running a networking organization, there's tons of people that credit me for what I'm doing, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate it that people consider me to be a leader of a networking group. I don't like that. I appreciate it, but I'd rather them just not. And when I talk about Tucson Pride, it's a we. It's ours. Because I never want to be the sole person that's seen as the face of an organization. And so that is something that I'm battling myself. But success of networking, for me, it's a lot of different things. My number one priority is friendship. I'm perhaps the opposite of a lot of people with networking. I want to make friends. Second, it's just being community and bringing value to people. The most rewarding thing that can validate my success in networking is when somebody comes to me thinking that I can provide them value. Hey Frank, I'm looking for a new job. Can you connect me with something? That is the most humbling and the most that just feels so great. Why? Because they believe that I'm able to help them in some way.
I think success in networking, for me, it's circumstantial, actually. If my purpose in going somewhere is to meet new people, I consider it a successful event if I meet one or two new and genuinely interested people. Like that's pretty much the bar that I set for myself. If I'm going to an event and my goal is to reinforce existing relationships, because I do a lot of networking online, so when I knew that we like youth sport, I don't see them very often in person. So if I'm going to go somewhere and see my niece, then I'm going to work the room and interact with as many people I know as possible, because nurturing that relationship is really important to me. So for me, it's circumstantial, and I think preferences for the environments that they feel comfortable in. And so, to be candid, between my client meetings and my networking meetings, I do minimum 60 meetings a month. I'm very particular about where I show up, and I think success in networking, for me personally, is picking 2 or 3 organizations where I feel very comfortable. I feel that the environment is really warm and welcoming. Hopefully, there are shared values in the room, and you can go deep with that organization instead of going broad and throwing yourself at 25 different organizations. I can't sustain that. So honor your capacity and show up where you really feel it's a good fit, because you'll be more willing to be persistent and consistent with it, and that's going to yield success.
I would say, as a video producer, 100% of my business comes through networking. Referral-based networking is where my business comes from, and it doesn't come fast. There's nothing transactional about people doing business with me. By the time I've met somebody to the time I have them in front of my camera, more than likely 3 to 6 months has gone by. There's a lot of relationship building that has to happen in order for somebody to want to do business with me. And I think a success metric for me is if they've done business with me. That means that I've probably done the networking the right way. I've spent the time getting to know that person. I've spent the time getting to know what their needs are and building friendship with them first and foremost. And the pat on the back for me is that they've come to me wanting to do business with me. It probably means I've done something for them, either for their business or for their personal life along the way.
Success for me, though, is when a member comes to me and says, oh my gosh, I did this amazing connection, or, the business coach in the room says 60% of my business comes, 70% of my business comes, it's not me, like I didn't quit, right? Like my niece, the owner, I didn't do it. It's all about the relationships. I would encourage you to take the thank you for creating a space for people. Because you're doing something, I haven't attended yet, but I'm super excited now to attend. You're creating a really great space, and that is success, right? And it's different. I'm with you. I don't want to compete with anybody. There's so much business to go around. Let's take his 10,000. Somebody print it. His 10,000. I've got 375 members. And all of Southern Arizona, not just Tucson. Like, how many more could we have? And yet, B&I might not be for them, right? It might be a better fit that they go once a month and they connect. That might be a better fit. They might need to get involved in chambers because it's a better fit. There's so many people and there's so much business to go around. There isn't any need to compete. People ask me if I have competition, I say no. Others believe that they compete with me. I don't have any competition. I'm just here to hopefully create great spaces for people to do business and create great relationships. And that's the beauty. If someone wants to be online, they can be. And if someone wants to be in person, they can be. And if someone sometimes wants to be in person and sometimes wants to be online, they can be. I think it's the thing. You don't have to make anybody wrong, right? If that's the beauty of it, nobody has to be wrong in this networking world that we live in. I think there's plenty of space for everybody.
I think that's actually an excellent note to wrap up on. So for anyone that had a question that we didn't get to, I encourage you to come talk to our panelists afterward. Folks, thank you so much for coming out tonight. Can we get that round of applause for our panelists? We will see you back here next month on June 20th for the next Hustle Hour. Intergenerational creativity. we're going to be hearing from 4 different creatives, each in a different decade of their life, about what their art means to them and how it has changed over time. No, there's not an